I never imagined Thanksgiving would begin with accusations instead of gratitude, but that's exactly what happened when I returned to my childhood home in Charleston, South Carolina. The scent of cranberry sauce and roasted turkey filled the air, but it couldn't mask the tension that clung to every word. My name is Rebecca Miles, and at 34, I had worked hard to build a respectable life as a fraud investigator for a major insurance firm. Ironically, it was my own family who accused me of the very crimes I spend my days uncovering. The day started like it always did. I arrived early to help Dad Howard, who's been moving slower since his mild stroke last spring. But everything unraveled the moment my older brother Derek burst into the dining room, flanked by his wife Monica, and declared, "We need to talk about the $50,000. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke, but when my younger sister Lacey jumped in waving bank statements and pointing fingers, I realized they were dead serious. They claimed I used my access to Dad's online banking, something I helped set up to siphon off the money. Even Dad, his voice shaking with disappointment, asked, "Why would you do this, Rebecca?" It was meant for my heart surgery. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than I expected. Not just the accusation, but that it came from the people who were supposed to know me best. In that moment, as they turned the warmth of Thanksgiving into a courtroom, I understood something terrible. Trust in a family can vanish in an instant. As the room buzzed with tension and disbelief, I could hardly breathe. My brother Derek had just accused me of stealing $50,000 from our father's bank account. My sister Lacey backed him up, her arms crossed and voice sharp, throwing around phrases like digital trail and suspicious withdrawals. Dad just stared at his plate, his once strong voice now thin and broken. It would have been easy to panic, to cry, to shout back, but I didn't. I'm Rebecca Miles, a senior fraud investigator for one of the country's top insurance companies, and I came prepared. For months, I'd been working on a corporate embezzlement case involving false documentation, digital forgery, and coordinated bank withdrawals. The patterns were familiar, and what I found while helping Dad manage his online banking was unsettling. I didn't want to believe my own family could be involved, but the signs were too obvious to ignore. The transactions matched patterns I'd seen before, cash withdrawn in regular intervals, just under reporting thresholds from different branches of First National Bank. At the table, I calmly reached into my tote bag and pulled out my phone. "You want to know where the money went?" I asked, unlocking the screen. I tapped into the encrypted files I'd saved and turned the screen toward them. October 15th, 5:15 p.m., First National. Here's the first withdrawal. There, in full clarity, was a still frame from surveillance footage. Derek, in his Panthers jacket, standing at the teller's window, and right beside him, Lacey, head down, glued to her phone, as always. The silence in the room deepened. "That's fake," Lacey stammered, but her voice had already lost its edge. "It's not," I replied. "The footage is watermarked and time-stamped, verified and admissible in court, and it matches the forged signatures on the withdrawal slips." I pulled a folder from my bag, the same one I carried in courtrooms and boardrooms. Inside were photocopies of the slips with detailed notes from our forensics team. I laid them out in front of Dad. 3 withdrawals, I said. October 15th, $20,000. October 18th, $15,000. October 22nd, another $15,000. Each time, same 2 people involved, not me. Dad's hands trembled as he picked up the papers. "But how did they get my account info?" I took a deep breath. "Remember when you stayed overnight at the hospital for the pre-op tests? Derek stayed with you. Your wallet was in the room. The login details were written on that notepad you keep in your jacket. They took advantage of it." The realization crushed him. His face paled as the pieces came together. He had trusted them, leaned on them, and they had stolen not just his money, but his peace of mind. The truck dealership was going to repossess my car, Derek admitted quietly. We thought we could put it back before anyone noticed, and you decided to frame me. My voice shook now with anger, with pain. I've spent my career protecting people from financial abuse, and you two tried to ruin me. Lacey's bitterness bubbled up. You always had everything: college, the job, Dad's pride. I was tired of being invisible. That was the moment it all made sense. Their resentment had been brewing for years, quietly poisoning what was left of our family bond. They saw my success not as inspiration, but as a threat. And when they got desperate, they didn't just make a mistake, they made a calculated choice. But the truth has a way of coming out. That Thanksgiving, I wasn't just defending my name, I was defending everything I had worked for, everything I stood for. And as I sat there with Dad laying out the evidence, I knew one thing for certain: they had tried to bury me under their lies, but they forgot I was the one who knew how to dig the truth back out. The silence after I laid out the evidence was heavier than the autumn air outside. I just exposed my brother Derek and sister Lacey for what they had done, stealing $50,000 from our father Howard and trying to frame me for it. But even then, I sensed we weren't at the bottom of it yet. The money was gone, sure, but so was something bigger, something deeper. That's when I started asking why. Derek slumped in his chair, face-pale sweat dotting his forehead. The truck was about to be repossessed, he muttered. We were going to pay it back before it snowballed. I looked at him, my older brother who once helped me with high school algebra and drove me to my prom. You lied. You stole from Dad. You tried to ruin my life. I didn't think it would go this far. He barked, voice cracking. I thought if I told the police you were involved, they'd just drop it. It was supposed to be harmless. I felt something inside me harden. Harmless. He dragged me through accusations, public shame, and the disbelief of the man we both called Dad, and for what a truck loan. And then Lacey chimed in, her voice low but bitter. You've always been the one who had it all. Rebecca, the scholarships, the fancy job, living in the city while I'm stuck here helping Dad with everything. You think it's easy watching everyone praise you like you're some kind of hero. I stared at her, stunned. So this was about jealousy. That's your reason I was tired of being invisible, she shot back. Just for once, I wanted someone to look at me the way they look at you. Her words stung more than I expected. It wasn't just about money, it never had been. Lacey had been living under years of insecurity, resentment, and a festering sense of inadequacy. She'd made terrible choices, but they didn't come from nowhere. Still, that didn't excuse it. You didn't just make a mistake, I said. You weaponized your pain and pointed it at me. Derek's wife, Monica, had been silent through it all, but now she stood up slowly, her face pale. You told me Rebecca stole the money, she whispered to Derek. You said she used Dad's account because she knew she'd get away with it. You never said you took it. Derek opened his mouth, but no sound came out. You lied to me, she said, her voice trembling. You didn't just drag Rebecca into this, you dragged our son. The room went ice cold. What are you talking about? I asked, feeling a sudden dread rise in my throat. Monica looked at me, her eyes glassy. He told Tommy to tell the police he saw you at the bank, said it was just a prank, a harmless little family joke. I couldn't breathe. My nephew, 16, gentle a kid who still made his own birthday cards, had been pulled into this nightmare. I felt the air suck out of the room. He cried all night, Monica said. Said he didn't want to lie, didn't want to hurt anyone. I'm leaving him, Rebecca. I'm filing for divorce. I can't raise a child in this. And just like that, everything made sense. Derek had gambled the money away. The truck wasn't about transportation. It was cover. the shame, the debt, the unraveling life, it all led back to addiction and denial. Lacey, meanwhile, had committed identity theft to feel seen, relevant, powerful for once. They didn't just steal money, they hijacked the truth and tried to bury me beneath it. But that's the thing about truth. It doesn't stay buried for long. And in their desperation to be noticed, to cover up shame, to hide weakness, they had crossed a line no sibling ever should. Not just a betrayal of trust, a betrayal of love, of family, and maybe, just maybe, of themselves. The Thanksgiving that was supposed to bring us together shattered our family in a way none of us saw coming. After Rebecca Miles, revealed the truth behind the stolen $50,000 evidence, clear as daylight, that my brother Derek and sister Lacey had drained our father Howard's account, it felt like there was no turning back. The accusations, the betrayal, the lies, but nothing could prepare me for what came next. Instead of apology, Derek doubled down. He stood in the middle of the living room, shifting his weight from foot to foot, like he was negotiating a business deal, instead of owning up to a crime. "You make good money, Rebecca," he said, his voice slick with desperation. "If you just loan us enough to replace what we took. Dad can call the bank and say it was a misunderstanding. We can fix this." I stared at him in disbelief. "You want me to pay you to cover the money you stole and pretend like you didn't try to destroy my life?" Dad's voice, for the first time since this all began, cut sharp and clear through the room. "Are you actually suggesting, Rebecca, fix your crimes?" Derek didn't flinch. He looked at both of us and said, "If this gets out, I lose everything. My license, my clients, my career. It's over." I stood up, fists clenched. "Then maybe it should be. You didn't just steal. You dragged your son into it. You framed me. You crossed a line, Derek, a line you can't uncross." Lacey, who had been sitting quietly for once, finally spoke. "Maybe he's right. If Rebecca just helps, we can make it go away." "No," Dad said, cutting her off. "No more lies. No more cover-ups. You need to face what you've done." And then Derek dropped the final bombshell. "If you go through with this," he said, voice low and full of venom, "you'll never see your grandkids again." The room went silent, not just quiet silent, the kind of silence that wraps around your throat and squeezes. Dad didn't move, didn't blink. "If that's your choice, Derek, so be it," he said with quiet strength. "But I won't be blackmailed, not anymore." I looked at the two people I'd grown up with, my siblings, people I once shared Christmas mornings and summer road trips with. Now they were strangers. Strangers who looked at me not with love, but with resentment and calculation. "You should leave," I said. "The police have your statements. They'll be in touch." Lacey's voice cracked as she asked, "You're really doing this to us, your own family? You stopped being family." I replied, "The moment you stole from Dad and tried to ruin me. Everything since then has only proved it." They left without another word. As the door shut behind them, Dad sat down, his shoulders heavy with sadness. "I keep hoping I'll wake up," he whispered. I sat beside him and took his hand. "We'll get through this one step at a time." But even as I said it, I knew the truth. Some things, some trusts, once broken, can't be rebuilt. And even if we could, we had crossed into a new reality, a version of our family that could never go back to what it was, only forward with truth, justice, and the courage to let go of those who chose betrayal over love. In the weeks that followed Thanksgiving, the house grew quieter, not peaceful, just quiet in the way that follows a storm. My father Howard and I spent our days sorting through a mess we never asked for, speaking with police, gathering financial records, reporting the fraud, and each day revealed something new, something worse. On Saturday morning, Dad handed me a folder he'd found hidden in Lacey's closet. Inside were credit card statements, 6 accounts, all opened in his name, Tens of thousands of dollars charged to salons, high-end restaurants, designer stores. I flipped through the pages with practiced calm, but my heart sank. This is identity theft, I said. She's been living off your credit. The withdrawals were just the beginning. Dad sat down heavily. They're going to jail, he whispered. My own kids. Before I could even find the right words, my phone buzzed. A message from Monica, Derek's wife. Can we meet? There's more you need to know. We met at a small cafe near the river, a place I used to go with Mom before she passed. Monica looked exhausted, her eyes swollen, her hands shaking, as she stirred a cup of coffee she never drank. Derek's gambling again, she said. That money, it didn't go to save the truck. He used it to pay off bets. He lied to me, too. I sat still, letting it sink in. I remembered when Derek went through rehab 10 years ago. We all thought he was clean. We wanted to believe it. There's more, Monica added. He got Tommy involved. My stomach dropped. What do you mean he told our son to tell the police he saw you at the bank? Said it was just a joke, a harmless little family prank. He said nobody would believe it anyway. I froze. Tommy, sweet, quiet. Tommy had been coached into lying to the authorities. Derek hadn't just betrayed Dad or me. He'd corrupted his own child. Monica's voice broke. Tommy's been crying for 2 days. I'm leaving Derek. I won't raise our son in this madness. When I got back home, Dad was sitting in his study holding an old photo from my college graduation. Were there signs, he asked? Did I miss them? We all did, I said gently. They hid it well. Before I could say more, the doorbell rang. Through the window, we saw Lacey pacing nervously. I told Dad not to open it, but he already had. She rushed inside, her voice urgent. Dad, please, you have to drop the charges. They're calling it felony fraud. You should have thought about that, Dad said calmly, before you stole from me. And then the unthinkable happened. Derek pulled into the driveway, stepping out of the car, looking nothing like the polished financial advisor he once pretended to be. His shirt-wrinkled hair, unkempt, desperation radiating off him like heat. He walked straight in and announced, I have a proposal. You're not supposed to be here, I said. He waved me off. This is more important. Rebecca, if you loan us the money, Dad can say it was a misunderstanding. Everyone walks away clean. Dad stood up. Are you actually asking Rebecca to fix what you did? It's not just about the money I added. You got your son to lie to the police. That's beyond forgiveness. Derek's mask slipped. If this gets out, I lose everything. My license, my clients, my career is gone. Maybe it should be, I said. You betrayed every ounce of trust anyone ever gave you. Dad looked at both of them, heartbreak in his eyes, but resolve in his voice. No more bailing you out. You made these choices. Now live with the consequences. As they left, I realized something important. This wasn't just about stolen money. It was about integrity, about truth, about choosing to draw a line in the sand and stand on the right side of it, even if it meant turning your back on people you once loved. In the weeks after the police got involved, everything changed. The house felt emptier, but lighter somehow. No more secrets lurking in the corners. No more walking on eggshells around people we used to trust. Derek and Lacey had been arrested, and though the silence they left behind was deafening, it was also a strange relief. Dad and I were finally able to focus on moving forward instead of looking over our shoulders. They were both sentenced Derek to 18 months, Lacey to 12. Both were ordered to pay restitution, though I knew that money would never erase what they did. Outside the courthouse, Monica found us. Her son, my nephew Tommy, trailed behind her, wearing his dad's oversized jacket, head down, barely able to look up. Rebecca, Monica said gently, Tommy has something he wants to say. The 16-year-old stepped forward, trembling. I'm sorry, he whispered. Dad said it was just a joke. I didn't know what I was doing. Before he could finish, I pulled him into a hug. At first he stiffened, then he crumpled against me sobbing. I don't want him to go to jail, he choked out. I know, buddy, I said softly, but he has to face what he did. Dad stepped beside us and rested a hand on Tommy's shoulder. You'll always have a place with us, no matter what. Monica wiped her eyes. We're moving in with my sister next week. I filed for divorce yesterday. Another piece of the family broken away, but maybe it was necessary. Maybe destruction was the only way to rebuild something stronger. That night, I found myself in the den surrounded by old photo albums. Pictures of Derek's wedding, Lacey's high school graduation poolside, laughs and Christmas mornings. I stared at those snapshots of a happier time, trying to make sense of what went wrong. Dad sat beside me, holding a picture of Lacey in her first ballet recital. Did your mom and I cause this, he asked. Did we make them feel second best by celebrating your achievements, helping with college? No, I said gently. They made their own choices, adult choices, and now they're facing adult consequences. He nodded slowly, the weight of a father's regret etched into every line of his face. A week later, their lawyers requested a meeting before sentencing. They think showing remorse might help, Dad told me. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I went. The room was sterile cold. Derek and Lacey sat across from us, looking nothing like the confident, spiteful people I once knew. They looked hollowed out, worn down. I've started going to Gamblers Anonymous, Derek said. Twice a week. I should have gone years ago. I'm seeing a therapist, Lacey added, barely above a whisper, trying to work through my self-worth issues. Their words sounded rehearsed, but we listened. Finally, Dad spoke. I believe you're sorry, he said slowly. Sorry you got caught. Sorry you're being punished. But I don't know if you're sorry for what you did. Neither could answer. I hope prison teaches you what we couldn't, he said. But I don't trust you. I'm not sure I ever will. As we turned to leave, Lacey called after me. Rebecca, don't you have anything to say? I paused, then turned back. Just this, I would have helped you. All you had to do was ask, but you chose betrayal, and that's what hurts the most. Back home, Dad broke the silence. You did the right thing. Did I asked. Yes, he said firmly. You're not responsible for their ruin, only for how you rise afterward. And for the first time in months, I believed him, because rebuilding starts not just with justice, but with choosing peace over pain, one step one, boundary, one truth at a time. Months passed, and life began to move again, not quickly, not perfectly, but steadily. Dad and I spent more evenings on the porch watching the sun slip behind the garden, sharing quiet moments that felt like recovery. Letters from Derek and Lacey arrived weekly. I hadn't opened mine, but Dad had. He told me Derek was leading a Gamblers Anonymous group in prison, and Lacey had started teaching accounting classes to other inmates. Part of me wanted to believe they were changing. Another part still flinched at the thought of trusting them again. Tommy, though, was doing better. His grades were up. His smile was starting to come back. He told Dad he wanted to study law to protect people like us, he said. People who had been manipulated by the ones they loved most. We'd started having dinner with him and Monica twice a month, and for the first time it felt like a new kind of family was taking root. One built on truth, not obligation. Sometimes the ones you love the most will be the ones who hurt you the deepest. But healing isn't about forgetting. It's about finding strength in the broken places. It's about choosing peace even when anger feels easier. And it's about protecting what's left so it can grow into something stronger than what came before. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to choose peace over family? Let's talk about it. Your voice matters here. Leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of resilience, justice, and the kind of healing that makes us whole again.